Next on the Broadway show, Oscar season. Broadway veteran and Tony nominee Brad Oscar is here to take a walk through his amazing career. Plus, the girl from the North Country, Kimber Elaine Sprawl, is here to talk about an incredible musical experience inspired by the songs of Bob Dylan. And a little bit later, we're going to talk to one of the great stars of Tina, the Tina Turner musical, about why she's just gotta dance. I'm Tamsen Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show. So glad you could be here for another totally jam-packed episode of The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fidel. The new COVID variant has been challenging for all of us. Broadway, of course, is no exception. But with every challenge comes opportunity, and in some cases, for young talent.
A swing covers up to 10 roles, so they will know and learn 10 roles. Kathy, when she turned up for work at 12 o'clock, could have played any of 8 roles. 8 roles. It happened to be the leading lady. She found out at 12 noon today, and at 1 o'clock, she had her very first rehearsal as Marion Peru.
When Sutton Foster was diagnosed with COVID, a swing actor stepped into the lead role of the Music Man. With just 8 hours' notice, Music Man star Hugh Jackman praised all Broadway swings and understudies as the bedrock of Broadway.
This is what's unprecedented. It's not only happening here at the Winter Garden, but all over Broadway. This is a time we've never known. We're in our 4th preview. We're all just sort of learning. So swings and understudies have not had a chance to learn. They watch from the corner of a room while we rehearse, while we get to practice over and over again. They just get to watch and write notes. And then 5 hours before a performance, they're told, you're on. By the way, you've got a wig fitting. Go.
I'm so excited to be back and to bring this show, which is just pure joy and full of hope and belief and faith, back to Broadway.
And as for Hugh Jackman, after a 2-week COVID quarantine of his own, he's now back in The Music Man 2. Yes, there are setbacks, but Broadway is back and we aren't going anywhere. Brad Oscar has been a fixture in the New York theater community for the better part of 3 decades, an audience favorite and a Tony nominee. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Brad Oscar has 9 Broadway credits to his name. Can you name them all?
Yes, Aspects of Love, Jekyll and Hyde, The Producers, Spamalot, Addams Family, Nice Work If You Can Get It, Big Fish, Something Rotten, and Doubtfire. Is that 9?
Sure.
What did I miss?
We're going to run through them all, but this one, let's start right here. We're actually at the Stephen Sondheim Theater, the now very poignantly named Stephen Sondheim Theater.
Yes.
You're in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
You play Frank.
Yes, the brother.
You're the brother.
Yes.
And you got to really flesh out this character for the musical, like, in amazing ways.
Yeah, it's nice. They've expanded both. I have a husband as well, who I think he does in the film, but you know, they're not seen together as much. But in the show here, J. Harrison G., who plays my other half in the show, yes, they have expanded our roles a little bit in the course of the story. And and what I love is that we always appear on stage together. I joke that we're doing Sideshow because we are never, Jay and I are never apart for the entire evening. From our dressing room to the stage,
You
back
will never
to
leave him.
Exactly.
This theater district is a place you know well.
Yes.
We're going to get a little cardio, and we're going to walk sort of through your resume. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's hit the road.
Let's go.
Brad, the St. James Theater.
The St. James
So many
Theater.
Brad Oscar triumphs.
St. James Theater. It changed my life, and ironically, it's the first Broadway house I was ever in as a kid, as an audience member.
Seeing what?
On the 20th Century, the original production of On the 20th Century at the St. James, and then yes.
So you were in a little show called The Producers.
I was in a little show called The Producers.
And what a fascinating journey you had with that show, first of all. Because originally you were not one of the leads.
Correct.
Out of town.
Correct.
You took over the role of Franz.
Correct. Out of
The
town.
crazy guy on the roof with
the crazy Nazi.
And then you ended up playing Max Bialystock a lot.
Yeah.
You came in and out of this show.
Yeah, it was the gift that kept on giving. No, it was an extraordinary experience. Yeah, I played Franz for the first year, and then I took over Max and played it here, and then on tour, and then in London. It was crazy. It was amazing. Yeah.
And then you did another show here
And
that
then-
I love.
and then
Something Rotten.
Dear Old Something Rotten.
I might even
Yeah.
love it more than The Producers. I mean, like.
You know what's interesting is that everybody expected The Producers to be good, at least. All those people coming together, it was going to be special.
Yes.
Nobody knew what Rotten was.
Exactly.
Nobody knew what Something Rotten was. The name alone is like, what the hell are they thinking? And so the audience response to that show was so joyous because they were so taken aback and surprised by it, and it was such a celebration of the musical comedy that in some ways, yes, the reaction and the response and that experience was just as terrific, because I thought nothing would ever top the producers. But in many ways, it equaled that in its own sort of special way.
This is the Broadhurst Theater.
Yes.
You made your Broadway debut at the Broadhurst.
Broadway debut in a year called 1990.
Yes.
In Andrew Lloyd Webber's Aspects of Love.
Right.
Yes, I was a
That
swing.
was the follow-up to Phantom.
Exactly.
Phantom is still
After
running next
Phantom,
door.
exactly.
Aspects of Love is not.
Aspects of Love did not
But
have
I
the
loved
run
it. It's a beautiful,
Phantom had. It's
beautiful
a lovely
romantic
score.
musical.
Yes. And it was, it was my Broadway debut, so it will always be obviously very special to me. But no, we ran for about a year here at the Broadhurst.
And you were swinging?
I was swinging, so I was covering one or two of the principal roles, and then most of the character men in the ensemble.
Humble beginnings, you were a swing, but you always had the eye on like being a headliner.
Well, I just wanted to be a working actor, really. I mean, we all want to be able to, show what we can do and do more. And so, yes, to have finally had that opportunity with the producers, actually, was great. But no, my dream was just to walk through a stage door 8 times a week, because this was always Fantasyland.
Brad, there are a lot of mega hit musical comedies on your resume. I feel like all of them are on your resume.
Yes.
And here at the Shubert,
Yes.
you were in a big one, Not to Kill a Mockingbird.
I was in Spamalot, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about being in Spamalot was being on stage at the Shubert. I mean, again, you talk about temples. I mean, it's the Shubert Theater, right? Over the many years, all the shows that have played here. Yeah, it's a great house.
And you were a replacement in which role?
Bedivere.
Okay.
Bedivere.
Right, okay.
Yes.
And you're sort of on the short list when like there's a hit musical comedy running and they need people to come in.
Well,
because you've originated a lot of roles and then you've replaced in other
here's
shows.
hoping. Yes. No, I've been very pleased. To be in the pool, as I like to say, is a terrific thing. And then to get to go into a show where all the work has been done, right? They've had all the rehearsals and the crazy and the changes and the this and the that. And and you get to just sort of go into an existing situation, it can be wonderful.
It must be
a little nerve-wracking.
So you don't have many murder, mystery, thriller musicals on your resume.
Murder.
I remember that number, Murder. So we're talking about Jekyll and Hyde.
We are.
That happened here at the Plymouth, which is now the Schoenfeld.
Now the Schoenfeld, but the Plymouth to those of us.
What was it like being in Jekyll and Hyde? Murder was an actual ensemble number that I'm assuming you took part in.
Yes, exactly. I did take part in. My God, audiences loved Jekyll and Hyde.
They did.
We got slammed. We opened, the reviews were not good at all. We were in a season with no other real big hit musicals, but they still decided that, we would be the GOAT in that way. It was us, Titanic, Steel Pier, and The Life. And we didn't even get nominated.
You rattled that off.
Well, because, these were formative years. We didn't even get nominated for Best Musical. Mind you, we outran all of those shows by years.
Nice work if you can get it.
And nice work if you can get it.
It was nice work.
Oh my God, it was amazing work, because I literally just came in for 2 months while Tony Award winner Michael McGraw was having some knee work done. And I got to come in for 8 weeks, play with Matthew Broderick again, my dear chum from Producers. Yeah. And for half of it, I was in rehearsal for Big Fish during the day because we were going to Chicago to try out.
Wow.
So I was living my best, most exhausting life.
So is Uncle Fester the most iconic character you've played? That's a pretty... Uncle Fester, everybody has an image of Uncle Fester.
Yes.
You got to be Uncle Fester in the musical of the Addams Family here at the L'Enfantine Theater.
I did.
How was that?
It was fantastic. I had a ball. It was again, you're inhabiting this character that so many people are familiar with and love, and it's so nice when an audience, that curtain went up, and that audience met you halfway. Yeah, I had a ball.
Not your sexiest turn.
No, perhaps not, but hey, that's usually not one of the adjectives I'm going for, I think.
Tell me about that show, Big Fish. I love that movie, and I was so excited. And the musical made me cry just like the movie did.
Beautiful show. Thankfully lives on because there's a wonderful cast recording that we made. But I'm very proud of that show, and it was a wonderful thing to be a part of. Again, it was a great company. It was a beautiful story to tell. I feel like a Make-A-Wish winner because it was all I ever dreamt of. And so, yeah, to be a part of the theatrical life of this neighborhood and this city, especially now, coming back, I couldn't be happier to be a part of this resurgence.
Pistol shots ring out in the ballroom night. Enter Patty Valentine from the upper hall.
Girl from the North Country is back, and it is magic. The show inspired by music from one of the greatest songwriters in history. Charlie Cooper caught up with one of the stars of Girl from the North Country.
Thanks, Tamsin. Girl from the North Country, featuring the songs of Bob Dylan, returns to Broadway, and with it comes leading lady Kimber Elaine Sproul. We met at the Belasco Theater to chat about that and so much more. The show is about the Great Depression and really essentially needing community to get through such a difficult time. And it almost parallels a lot of what we just went through.
Yeah.
Do you feel like audiences will get something new out of it that maybe they couldn't get prior to the pandemic and the social unrest that's happened?
For sure, for sure. I think our show continues to grow with the times. It's just such a slice of life, and it's such a human piece that no matter what I'm going through, no matter what the world is going through, I really do feel like people relate to it. But especially now, I know when I was getting ready for the show and I was like doing research about the Great Depression, the biggest conundrum that I had was like, wow, these people went through something so catastrophic that I can't even imagine. I don't know how do you do that? And then you realize when you experience a pandemic, you're like, oh, you do. You find ways to survive. You find community. You're eager to make connections. You're eager to laugh and have experiences. And that's Girl from North Country. It's about finding love while trying to survive.
So talk to me a little bit about your character, and do you feel like you're going into this with a different perspective?
Yeah, I play Marianne Lane. She is a 19-year-old woman. She finds herself in a very dramatic pregnancy, and everyone is trying to tell her what to do, what her options, what her choices are. And she's a woman of strong conviction and resolve, and she's just trying to figure it out for herself. She is adopted by a white family, so she kind of goes through spouts of loneliness. She knows what her desires are, but it's confusing and lonesome when that doesn't reflect what you see every day. You know, it doesn't reflect in her experiences as a Black woman. Yeah, so she's on her journey.
Has anybody seen my love? You wanna talk to me? Go ahead and talk. Whatever you got to say to me won't come as any shock. I must be guilty of something. You just whisper it into my ear.
And of course, I have to ask you about the recently released cast album. Have you listened to it? Are you excited about it? Like, talk to me about that.
We had it for a while, and I've been listening to it, and it's a beautiful album. I mean, it's Bob Dylan, so we have that, and we have beautiful musicians and singers, and I love the music.
We need to take a moment to pay respect to the great Sidney Poitier. He passed away just over a week ago. Poitier was a Tony nominee for his turn in the original Broadway production of A Raisin in the Sun, and now his life will soon be adapted into a new Broadway production based on his autobiography. Sidney Poitier was 94. There's still a whole lot more to talk about on this edition of The Broadway Show. Coming up, she's just gotta dance. You can't fake the funk with one of the great stars of Tina, the Tina Turner musical. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show, and we'll be right back. Tina, the Tina Turner musical, is electric, featuring incredible musical performances and undeniable choreography. We met up with Leandra Ellis-Gaston, one of the show's great performers at Open Jar Studios, to find out why she's just gotta dance.
Hi y'all, my name is Leandra Ellis-Gaston. I am the dance captain and I Ket in a Tina cover over at Tina, the Tina Turner musical. I was dancing when I was a kid. always. My mom always had us moving. Like if music was on, we were dancing down. I moved up into like step teams and church groups. When I got in high school, I did something called color guard, which is what you do with like marching bands. I just kinda was the girl that caught on to everything pretty quickly. So I was like, if they can do that, I can do it, but I wanna do it better. So I would just constantly like keep rehearsing or keep practicing. So I've been dancing since I can remember. My first time on stage, I was in 5th grade. I played Miss Hannigan in Annie. I remember the bow because I've always been a hungry kid. And so after we finished the show, I had an apple in my hand and I went out on stage to do the bow with an apple because I was so starving. I put it behind my back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I messed up. And I remember hearing the audience and being like, whoa, this is it. Like, this is what it's supposed to be like. When I was in high school, nothing grabbed my attention like the stage did. And like all aspects of it, like the tech stuff, like how the sound worked, how the lights looked, how the choreography looked on people. Like I just was so interested in every little piece of theater, like I couldn't get enough. There wasn't anything I didn't want to learn. Tina Turner is my Broadway debut. It was a whirlwind. When I started Tina Turner musical, I was a swing. So we hadn't rehearsed yet. And I got the call an hour before and everybody's terrified because they're like, does she know it? And I'm like, no, I think I know it. I think I'm pretty good to go on. And by the time we get to that bow, I just boo-hoo cried because I couldn't believe my dreams came true. The music of Tina Turner has fueled me since I was a kid. It's that funk, it's that beat that like no one can really describe about it. I felt in my body anytime I hear her music or anytime I dance in general. You can feel it, but you can't really hear it. Yeah, I feel like I've always been dancing like that and Tina's music just takes it out of here. Being a dancer on Broadway means that a dream is realized. There's more dreams to come, don't worry, but that dream is realized, which is exciting.
I guess you say what can make me feel this way.
Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations is coming to a city near you in 2022. While the Broadway show is just wrapping up its run, one of that production's stars is Nick Walker, and he's this week's fresh face.
Hey, I'm Nick Walker, and I play Otis Williams in Ain't Too Proud. My love of theater just came from a love in general of storytelling, and I was also a huge Mark Twain fan. In the 2nd grade, I read Tom Sawyer, and then I just, for some reason, was like, I'm gonna write a play of Tom Sawyer. And my mom actually kind of pushed me into theater as well as she started seeing this thing form because she, like low-key, thought I had ADD, and she had heard that theater would focus me, which who knows what the results were. The play that defined my life, and I'm sure so many young black men have the same response, was Top Dog Underdog by Susan Lloyd Parks. I was stunned. I was just like, there's just so much happening in this piece, so much to unravel. I never had patience for theater that was gonna do less than that. Everybody who's done Motown, like, we're a band of brothers. That show was everyone's at all cylinders all the time. And so when you're working that hard, people really bond in the trenches together. A bunch of people of color in a cast who are just uber talented, bonding together, pushing each other to be better. Hamilton, as you know, I don't need to say anything about that show. I had a teacher who would say that like Shakespeare is like your training wheels, right, for theater. If you can do Shakespeare, you can do anything. And I would say Hamilton is right up there. If you can do Hamilton, you can do anything. I would not be able to do Ain't Too Proud if I hadn't done Hamilton. I love that this show focuses in on these men. It's just these 5 guys and their lives. And that allows you, I think, to care for them on such a deep level. I think the one through line is bringing dimensionality to people that we thought we knew. One of my favorite moments in the show is the opening of Ain't Too Proud because it gives you the Temptations that you know. We're the guys in the silver suits and we come out and we're dancing and it's fun. And then we say, all right, now we're gonna get real. Here's Detroit. Here's what I did in Detroit. This is when I went to jail. This is when I got out of jail. It kind of drops the facade. What's more important than people of color getting out there is for people to see that we are a multifaceted people. When I was growing up, I was either going to be playing a sharecropper or a hyena. Just real talk. And now there's a bunch of people playing, musicians and pop artists, but you also got people playing presidents. There's room for everyone. That's the point of this moment. That is what I'm so proud of right now.
And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.